Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. And my name is Zach. If you've listened to this podcast before, then maybe you know me. But we do have a special guest. Once again, we have Jaxton. We'll get to introduce you guys because he hasn't joined us before. But like we do every week, we have great guests, and I'm excited to get to know you a little bit, Jaxton. Could you give us a brief introduction about who you are and what you're working on?
Yeah, my name's Jaxton.
Mhm.
I am from Oklahoma City. Came here right out of high school. Um, I just passed my multi EOC just this morning, actually. So
Awesome! Congrats on
yep,
that.
just finished the program.
That's a pretty
Yep,
big deal, and I didn't know that when we originally asked you to be on the podcast that you were going to be finishing up your multi. So
yeah,
we're going to talk a little bit more about that multi later.
yeah.
But let's keep going. I want to ask you what kind of got you interested in aviation. What's the first thought you remember having about it?
I uh, unlike most people they'll say, "Oh, I've been flying since I was 3 years old" and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
right.
That's not really my case. I mean, I've had family in aviation, not really close family, but I don't know. I mean, I've always had an interest in it since I was little,
Right.
but never really kind of considered it as a career till a little bit later on in high school, and then it's
Mm.
like, this seems really cool. So
That's a
yeah,
slow thing, right?
yep,
That's pretty cool. What do you remember the first moment you actually took like a step towards it, like Googled it or anything like that?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of research things like thoroughly before I get into anything. So
Right.
researched lots of flight schools and I mean everything about everything. But
Yeah.
the first thing I did, like the actionable thing I did
Mhm.
was came here and took a discovery flight, and then I mean I was pretty sold beforehand, but then I took a discovery flight. I'm like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So
How did
yeah.
you figure out about a discovery flight in your research? You figured that's what
Yeah,
people
it
do.
was like everybody's recommendation before you get into it is like before you do anything, just take a discovery flight and make sure it's like for you,
Right.
because
Right.
some people they just can't overcome motion sickness or like something like that. So
Right. And so you take your discovery flight. What was that? Like, was there a light bulb moment? How did that feel?
yeah, I mean I just remember, I, like I don't even remember that much from the discovery flight except for the takeoff. The takeoff was just like, whoa, I'm like actually flying this plane,
Yeah.
because they let you do it on the discovery flight. Like a
Yeah.
bunch of people think, oh, you're just like a passenger or whatever, but really like you're actually doing most of the stuff. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I remember I had been in the plane maybe a few times before they actually let me do, a discovery flight, and we were out, we were gonna film some things, but we were coming in on one of the airports. He's like, "Here, take the yoke, put your feet on the rudders." I was like, "What?" And so, I'm there, and he takes everything, he takes his hands off the control, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, this is," you know, being a passenger is I thought I had kind of gotten the experience already. Like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, I get it. I've been up in the air in one of the prop planes. But when you put your hands on the yoke and you put your feet on the rudder and you can kind of feel the control you have
Right.
in all these different directions, that was a pretty big deal for me
Yeah.
personally. Granted, I haven't started flying yet, so
Yeah.
you take your discovery flight. So let me ask you this: you're in high school, your interest grows a little bit,
Hmm.
and then maybe sometime after high school, you decide to start flight training after you do a discovery flight.
Hmm.
Number one, do you mind sharing when you graduated? And then number two, how long after you graduated did you start making moves?
Yeah. So I graduated class of 2024. So not the recent graduating class, but the one before.
Okay.
And then I mean I kind of had decided I was gonna come here. I think it was in the spring,
Right.
late spring, kind of
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the year. I was weighing some college programs, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
but came here in August. So I just took kind of like a summer break that a high schooler would take, and then came here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you shared something with me earlier, so I wanna go on and ask you more questions about what other options you might have had
Hmm.
and how his training is going. But I still want to ask more about this. Firstly, you're young, and we have a lot of peers. You have a lot of peers of all ages here at Thrust. I know
Hmm.
that. Is it a little nerve wracking coming into this program where you don't know how to fly, and maybe you're around people of all different ages and different walks of life? What's that like?
So that was one thing I was really kind of concerned about coming here. I'm like, is there going to be anybody else my age? And there is. All
Right.
my roommates are all my age, so
Okay.
that's a lot of fun. And then um, I think one thing that's pretty cool is like everybody's kind of equal here. You know, like if you were to go to college, anybody that's like way older than you is kind of little like, I don't know,
They're treated like
superior.
they,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You kind of get treated like the young one, but um, I mean, some of my closest friends here are like 10 years older than me, so
yeah.
you know, it's a lot of fun. I mean, a whole lot of people here that are very friendly. So
I have a lot of questions about a lot of those things, but
yeah,
do you think it's because do you think that you don't feel like people are older than you because it's such a fast-paced program where that doesn't really play a role. Everyone's like going from zero experience to
yeah,
trying to get to the airlines.
yeah.
Do you think it's like a common goal mentality?
That's definitely it.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is, uh, uh, and this is totally situational and
Right.
very generalized,
Right.
but I've seen a lot of people my age get through the program really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I think it's like an experience thing. Like, I don't know, kind of like whenever you learn a language, you learn a language much better when you're younger than whenever you're older. So, I
Mm.
mean, usually the older people in the program aren't necessarily better or faster or know more
Yeah.
than the younger people. So that's another thing. But
I see what you're saying. Age only plays so much of a
yeah,
role.
yeah,
I didn't think about it that way. I mean, people could argue that you're more mature when you're older, but some people could also argue that you're less coachable.
hmm,
And again, it's situational, like you
yeah,
said. But there's some benefits to being young.
hmm,
Also, I remember maybe being your age. I'm not that old, but uh, you have a lot of energy, probably, right? Do you get
yeah.
tired? I mean, it's a hard thing you're doing. Like you're flying a lot.
Mhm.
So, what's it like maneuvering? The hours and the time you have to put in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for sure,
Hmm.
but I'm not gonna be like, oh, you have to be like this high level person to be able to do this. I think most people can handle the load that we get here. So
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Okay. I want to rewind a little bit. Your roommates are all about your age.
yep.
Um, so you live in our housing. We have housing, of course. For the listeners and viewers who aren't aware, at Thrust Flight, we do offer a housing that is right up the street from our Addison location. Each location has a housing available, though. It's a part of the program options. That being said, are you in our housing?
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet.
Uh, it's been a lot of fun. I like student housing.
Yeah, it's cool. Do you drive here or do you walk here?
I drive.
Okay.
I've walked before for ZTA day because there's not parking. I always just walk. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it gets pretty busy over here.
yeah.
So earlier you mentioned before we started recording that you were pretty close to considering going to college.
Hmm.
Was that what you always thought you were going to do?
Yeah. So well, I did rowing all through high school.
Okay.
And I was kind of planning on going to Embry Riddle
Hmm.
because they have a men's rowing team, and I had some scholarship there.
Hmm.
And then you kind of compute the costs, and it was even with scholarship, it was like just shy of $400,000.
Yeah, for the whole
So
thing,
for the
right?
whole thing, and I'm like, that's just like, I don't know,
Wow.
that's like terrible for your like financial health. And
Yeah.
I mean, not like this is cheap, but I mean, it's nothing like $400,000, especially because I mean, even like Purdue now, they'll accept my licenses and
Yeah.
everything as some college credit.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just planning on kind of doing something online
That's a
later.
deal that we have with Thrust Flight, right? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah,
So you're saying you can get your ratings here, and then some of that stuff can be accredited towards
yeah.
whatever degree you may want to go for.
So it's not any degree, but it's if you do like the professional pilot degree
Hmm.
or like I think aviation management, then your ratings will count as some credit. But
That's
yeah,
cool. But yeah, like you were saying, like you kind of when you put it on paper, you're like, well, if this is what I'm interested in, and you look at the costs and the time commitment and things like that.
hmm,
I guess this isn't the way you paint it. It's not
yeah,
that bad of an
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Okay, so at what point did you come to that conclusion? Oh, you did the discovery flight, and they kind of
yeah,
sold it for you, right?
kind of. And I knew I wasn't gonna do Embry Riddle,
Mm,
and I also was considering UND as well.
mm-hmm,
And those are, I mean, they're great programs. They're just so expensive, and it's 4 years at the
mm-hmm.
least. And also another thing that scared me was that like I forget what the numbers they told me. I went and toured a bunch of colleges,
Right.
my senior year, and the some of them were as low as like 20% of the people make it through the program. Like,
Mm.
wow, like I think I'm decently smart, but man, I don't know if I'm
Top
top
20%.
20%. Yeah. 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 So that number scared me. And I'm like, I really want to be a pilot and I don't want to get washed out. Um, and I mean, I've heard some stories of people getting kicked out of programs for failing a stage check a few times or something like that. And I'm like, man, that scares me a little bit. So
Yeah. But it sounds like you're not telling me that you think this is necessarily easier either, but it sounds like you're saying it just sounds more worth it to you.
more worth it. And I mean, I didn't really know this then, but like the support structure you've got here, where if you're struggling, I mean, we all know Miss Irma. She's gonna get you with a tutor,
Uh-huh.
and she's gonna get you going to those study halls. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the numbers, but I think our retention rates are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I always I try to keep on top of those things because I'm always on the YouTube and on the Instagram, so I want to make sure that I'm telling people things that are good. Um, that's good to know though. Let me ask you before we move on. What's been the main thing that's helped you out through your experience? You said you just got through multi.
Hmm.
Today, literally, you got your multi check ride done. I guess I'll ask you more about that. But what's been the main thing? Is there like one behavior that's gotten you through it all?
Absolutely. Um, just being around people, because I know there's the people that struggle in this program um, are the ones that don't come to the school and the ones that don't hang around people.
Mm.
Because like a lot of the times I'll go, I mean, we'll be hanging out with my roommates. I mean, student housing, seriously, it's like if you can do it, it's a hack to being here because
Uh-huh.
everyone that goes through student housing does well in the program. Just because you're around people 24/7 that are doing the same thing,
Yeah.
it's awesome. But like we'll just be hanging out, and I mean you'll take something away from it. So
Yeah. That's like I like that concept. You said you did rowing all throughout high
yeah,
school, right? I'm sure you got to experience that team mentality a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah.
and maybe I think some people don't get to experience like a sense of community or team, and
Mm-hmm.
I maybe don't realize that. I
Yep.
mean, did you realize how much that actually helps you move forward until you started doing it? Did you kind of
No,
know that?
so I mean, not necessarily no,
Yeah.
because I mean in high school it's like you do all your studying on your own. I never
Right.
really did any study groups, didn't really have much time for that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean that was probably, I'll say it was my biggest fear coming here,
Hmm.
was not having, I guess it not being like a college experience where you're around people and
Hmm.
they're doing the same thing and
Yeah.
stuff like
But
that.
it's not. But you have a community,
But
is what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's been great.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit of the flying stuff. I feel like we got kind of a good idea of you. To me, you sound like a smart guy who
Thank you.
like came into something. And you're like you have your mind set on a goal,
Hmm.
and that's not always easy to do. Like when I was younger, I couldn't even choose what I wanted to do. I just started working a lot. But that being said, I want to ask you about. Let's start at the top. You got your multi today.
Yeah.
We'll work our way down a little bit, but were you nervous going into your check ride,
Yeah.
and how do you feel afterwards?
Yeah. So going on my check ride, well, it's an EOC,
Mm,
which, and I feel like I didn't even fully understand what an EOC was before
mm-hmm,
I came to Thrust.
mm-hmm,
But EOC, if you don't know, it's just a check ride, but instead of having to use a DPE, which is like it's a designated pilot examiner, basically like not employee of the FAA, but they work for the FAA. They can be pretty nerve wracking to be around sometimes because it's this guy with so much experience, and of course you always hear the horror stories of stuff with DPEs, but with an EOC,
mm-hmm,
there's some instructors in our school um, that they are licensed by the FAA, I guess you'd say, to give a check ride in house. And so it's great because or at least usually you're going to know the instructor.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I mean, they've got a regular instructor uniform on. And
Yeah.
so that eases the nerves a bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
my commercial check ride and double I check ride, I was so nervous for. I mean, it was terrible.
Dude, I mean, I could.
Almost crippling. It was, yeah,
Hey, but you
so
got
much
through them. It
nerves.
sounds like from
Yeah,
where
I
you're
did.
at.
I did. But
And for the people listening, we call this examining authority. You have to be a Part 141 school, and you have to have success rates at a certain rate. You have to have students succeed at a certain rate in order to maintain what we call examining authority, granted to us by the FAA, which allows us to do exactly what you're talking about, EOCs, which means that our instructors that are what's the word? Like you said, maybe licensed or able to give what we call a check ride. Um, they are held to the same standard, if not higher, than even a DPE, because we want to make sure that our students are, meeting FAA
Hmm.
regulations. So, anyways, thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
that's something I try to get across
And
sometimes.
another thing,
So,
I'll just say it so that if somebody who was the past me who didn't understand it, so not all 141s have this. So like you look at 61 and 141, everybody was like 141, you don't have to have a DPE, but that's not true.
yeah.
Almost all programs that are 141 that aren't like a college program
Hmm.
don't have in-house authority. Like I, I don't know all of them, but I
Yeah.
think we're one of the few schools that's got it. Like
It
it's
is
a
very rare.
serious pro. Like it's nice.
Yeah, and look into it, look it up, watch some videos, but check ride availability is a big. If you're watching this and you're not flying yet, check ride availability or DPE availability is a really big factor in your pacing and in your ability to succeed in flight training. So
Yep.
that's a big deal. There's a
Yeah.
lot of talk about it online. You can look up other videos that we have. Look up. We have videos about in-house examining authority, and then we also have videos about the finish line program. You can learn a little bit more there. That being said, you started about, would you say, a year ago?
Yeah, about a little over a year, last August.
About
So
12, 13 months. Oh, last August. So yeah, about
yeah,
12 months.
yep.
Um, how do you feel about your pace moving through the program? Was it as fast as you expected, or was it slower than you expected?
Um, you know, I'll say it was slightly slower than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
At least from so like after I passed private, like I did private in like 2 months on the dot. So I'm like, oh wow, if I can do every rating this fast, that'd be great. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's been some things like the so we don't have in-house authority for commercial and double I.
Right.
So commercial, you got to wait a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I just caught it at the worst time where it was like
A little backed up.
real bad weather, and
Mm.
so I was talking to some DP, and he was like, I forget what percent he said. It was like 90 or something percent of students are weather canceling,
Yeah.
and so I mean, no matter your network of DPEs as a school that you use, no matter how many you have, if everybody's weather canceling like that, you're gonna have to wait. So
Yeah.
stuff like that kind of slow you down a little bit.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I can imagine that too. And we're in Texas, so the weather is all over the place. I mean, we can go from and it doesn't rain lightly here; it rains heavy. I don't know about in Oklahoma, but
yeah,
it's probably similar weather though. It's not too much of a
not
different
too
region.
much different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I just know that I was in California one time and I was in an Uber, and it started kind of like sprinkling, and the Uber driver was freaking out.
yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, it doesn't rain here." I'm
yeah.
like, he was like really nervous. He's like, "I might have to pull over." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I can walk in this.
That's funny.
You can't walk in the rain in
Yeah.
Texas. Like, not really, anyways, unless you have to." But um, so let's talk about the a rating that might have been the most difficult for you. Maybe it's the maneuvers, maybe it's the material. Uh, can you talk a little bit about a rating that you had to put a little extra work in?
So this is an unpopular opinion because it seems that nobody else struggles with this.
Mhm.
But CFII, if you don't know, that's flight instructor instrument. So I had already gotten my CFI,
Right.
and double I was
Hmm.
really tough just because it's such a short. I think it's 2 flights
Mm.
of training,
Mhm.
and then you do I think 2 sims.
Mhm.
But it had been a while since my instrument training, and I hadn't I should have, but I
Yeah.
hadn't looked at it um, since instrument training,
Right.
and so it was almost like relearning everything. And
Oh
then
yeah.
you need to know it to like an instructional level of knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I did. I mean, uh, shout out Evan Christner. He was my primary.
Yeah.
Um, I
That's great.
and
We had Evan on here a couple times, so
oh
look
yeah,
up those podcast
yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
But yeah.
He's awesome. But he got me right. So passed that check ride, but it was tough for sure.
I can't remember what people were saying the hack was, because I know what you're talking about. But
Hmm.
you kind of have to go back and revisit some of that information. Is that what you found a little bit difficult, and like how'd you overcome that?
I just did a bunch of studying with people, did study groups, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Evan Christner, he was teaching an instrument ground class at the same time.
Mm.
So I backseated his instrument students, stuff like that, and then I would sit in on his classes, and he'd even let
Uh,
me teach a little bit of it,
yeah.
stuff that I was working on. So
That's
so
awesome.
it was a lot of honestly that it was hard, but that section of training was a lot of fun.
Um,
You know.
how does that training fit into your program? Because I want people who are listening or viewers on YouTube to understand that like maybe some of the differences of what they expect. Because you go to college and you have your schedule set for the semester. You know when classes and when labs are and certain things like that. Here you're gonna get scheduled for what things like flights and ground courses, and
Yep.
then you have like options for study hall and like training and studying and extra flights. So what does it look like to have things scheduled, and then what does it look like to do what you kind of just did with Evan Christner? Is that scheduled?
No, it's not
No.
scheduled. So that isn't scheduled. I'll kind of go through how it goes. We'll start with I'll just use the private rating as an example.
You're right.
So you start the program, and you are immediately put into a ground class. Everybody's starting with you. So you're kind of all at the same experience level, everything. So
Right.
the ground class, at least for private, is 2 weeks long.
Okay.
So it's 2 weeks, and you're also flying with that. So those are probably the two busiest weeks of the program, except for maybe CFI Academy. But
Right.
really busy weeks because you're flying, or you start off in the sim, but you're flying, and then you finish the ground class, and then you're on to just flights for the
Okay.
rest of private. So usually, I think they're kind of switching it up now where they'll schedule like all your training. I think is what they're doing. But yeah, so like you'll get flights. You'll know your week though for
Okay.
sure.
You gotta know like how do you know a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead?
Usually about a week ahead, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that they'll schedule stuff about like 3 weeks out sometimes, but it's always subject to change.
Yep.
So therefore, you kind of just look at the week ahead, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So to your point though, you'll get your ground done, and then you'll
Yep.
kind of start working on flights.
And then so you're doing flights along with the ground. So that part's real busy. After 2 weeks, your schedule opens up a lot for like studying on your own, and you probably will have like one flight a day. And I think they have like a backseat policy, so that flight will be 4 hours. I don't know. I think
Backseat policy, so the flight will be 4 hours. What do you mean by
okay.
that?
So normally flights are going to be, I mean, depends, but usually booked for 2 hours.
Okay.
But now they've got a policy where you have a partner. I think this is for every rating now. You've
Yeah.
got a partner, and then you go and backseat them, and then you go. So like one of you flies for 2 hours, then you land at like Terrell or Caddo Mills or
Wow.
some small airport. Go to like the FBO or whatever, grab water and refuel if you have to, and you switch, and then you fly, and they watch you
Yeah.
from the back seat. So like the thing that helped me through private and to get through it so quick was backseating. And so like I know when they instituted the backseating policy, everybody's like, "Oh, I gotta be here. I gotta be in the plane for 4 hours." Like
Right.
some people were kind of complaining about it. I'm like, if you really want to like get done with the program, that's what you should do because I mean, you see all the mistakes they're making. That
Yeah.
you almost when you're in the back seat and you're not flying. Of course, when you're not flying, it's like, oh, why didn't they do that? But you're not
Yeah.
actually flying the plane. But you almost
But you
start
get to
to
think
think
about it like
a
that.
little bit like an instructor. You're like, oh, come on, do that. And so it's like, I don't know. It really, really helps. So
I'm that way too. Like, everything's different from when you're looking at it objectively versus when you're in the moment. And I could see myself being like, well, why didn't they? But then you'll hear them respond why they didn't do something or tell them what to do or they succeed at doing something differently than you, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I should try that.
Yeah.
I'm that
So,
way. I'm very
yeah.
much of an on hand.
I was
in
just
the moment.
talking with my buddy the other day. So I've been backseating with one of my friends through Multi. You know, we're backseat partners. So
Right.
and those are like it's a 6 hour long block. So 3 hour long flights each. But anyways,
Yeah.
we would switch who flies first. And when I watch him fly first,
Right.
I'm like, come on, dude. But so there's like a flow whenever you have an engine failure. It's
Okay.
like mixtures, props, throttle, and then I'm not gonna go through the whole flow,
I
but
mean, honestly,
but
it'd be cool if you did, but
yeah,
if it's too long, then
no,
don't.
it's not that long.
Yeah,
So
so let me know what it is, and then go ahead.
yeah, so like it's for whenever you lose an engine,
Yeah.
you go mixtures full, props full forward, so it's like higher RPM, and then throttle full, and then you check that your gear's up and that your flaps are up, and then you see which foot is called your dead foot. So it's like the foot that you're not pressing on the rudder. Then you see, okay, like my right foot. So then you verify with the right throttle, pull it to idle, and if nothing changes, okay, I've identified and verified that my right engine has failed. So then it depends on what altitude, what you do after that, but
Yeah.
you feather it or whatever.
That's pretty cool.
But
Yeah.
anyways, my story was that he would fly and he would like forget something on the flow, and I'd be in the back seat watching him like, come on, just check the landing gear, just say it.
Seeing it,
yeah. And I'm like, how is he not getting it? And then I would go and fly, and like you get in the plane and sometimes you just like lose brain cells because it all happens kind of quickly, especially in the multi, and you're trying to get through it quick. And then like for the first honestly, most of my training flights in multi, I would forget one thing on the flow every time. It'd be something different. But I'd forget one thing. It was like either the gear was pretty common, or the flaps, or to verify or identify.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. Anyways,
you couldn't figure out why.
But yeah, and so, but it's valuable to backseat because I could kind of see like, okay, he's forgetting this when he has to do it fast, because you got to get through that flow. But
I think that's for me, that's what is helpful when I get to see other people do things. Is I can see why they're doing it wrong. It's hard to know why you're doing it wrong sometimes, but like you said, when he's doing it fast is when he's forgetting. And so you can take that into account for yourself. Like, maybe if I slow down, it'll help a little bit. That's great. So on the opposite end, if you're like, what's your favorite maneuver that you got to practice? What's one that you kind of enjoyed doing, whether it's because it's just fun or because you like the way, like, you like the concept? What's your favorite maneuver? Is there one you feel like you're really good at?
Okay, so not one I'm good at, but power off 180s are a lot of fun. When you're getting them, like, you'll have days where you're not hitting any of them and you're like, oh, this is terrible, like, I hate this, but they're generally like a lot of fun because I mean, if you don't know, you get in the downwind, you get a beam like next to your touchdown point, and then you bring your throttle to idle. You just glide down, and then you got to hit a specific spot on the runway. So
I feel like it's the most gamified one.
That's one. Like, I feel like some people try and teach, or some people try and be like super, I don't know, like, once you get this many miles from here, then you turn and you put one flap in here, then you get here and you put in another flap. But that one is a real like feeling thing. Like, you got to feel your energy. That's one thing. My instructor, Austin, in commercial, before I went into commercial, I didn't have a good feel of the plane, where it was like, I couldn't totally tell if I was climbing or descending. Wasn't very good at like energy management, but he got me right. So
I hear a lot of people talk about that, especially going into commercial. You kind of have to get a feel for the plane a little bit. What's the alternative? What are you doing when you're not feeling the plane? Like, what is that like?
And that's how it's going to be through private and probably instrument too, where you're not totally feeling the plane and know everything about what it's doing,
Right.
And so you're going to be a little bit more robotic with things for sure. And you can be, and that's okay. But when it comes to power 180s, you got to get that feel down, So
it's like relying a little less on the numbers and like you said, robotics. So like the less instrument.
Just like not being so like, I mean, you got to have you got to do it the right way, but you also, things change. So like with power 180s, you can't always put in a flap at one point, or you can't always turn at the same point, because the wind changes and the density altitude changes and things like that. So
gotcha. You allow what you feel the plane doing to be more of a factor in, like, I guess, your decision making and your maneuvering. Still within, like you said, guidelines and goals. Not goals, but what is it? Guidelines, I guess, regulations.
Yeah, like we got maneuver guides. So you still do everything the right way, but you just, things change. So
yeah, that makes sense. I've talked to a lot of people about the Power Off 180s because I had to do a couple of videos on our YouTube channel about that so far, and people seem to think those are really helpful. So I'll have you look at some of those Power Off 180s and tell me if you think some of that.
Yeah.
If we need to do another one, we will.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their own opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, I do better when I feel the plane out and I'm like, okay, I feel high and fast right now, so let me do this. But not everybody does it that way, and I don't hit them 100% of the time at all. So I don't know.
It's a difficult one. It sounds like, anyways. I want to ask you. I wanted to ask you about. Did you ever feel like you were kind of plateauing in your training? Maybe things slowed down a little bit, or maybe maybe you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm gonna grow past this where I'm at mentally or maneuver wise. And if so, what'd you do about that?
Yeah. So probably the biggest plateau or hurdle I've had to get over was probably commercial training. Well, I guess after commercial training, but
Right.
when I, had a kind of a long wait for a check ride, so I hadn't flown in a while,
Hmm.
um, and did a refresher flight and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
went and took my check ride. Well, there was a whole bunch of cancellations and stuff before,
Yeah.
so I'm time lapsing a bunch, but
Yeah.
waited a while and then got the ground out of the way with the DPE, but then the weather was bad, so canceled. So ground was over. That was good.
Okay.
And then went for the flight
Mhm.
and failed in the first like 10 minutes because I just wasn't looking outside enough. And
And
it's
you said this is for commercial?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just wasn't looking outside enough.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was tough because then I was trying to make the next CFI Academy with my friends and all
I
that.
understand.
And the weather just it like oh, it was terrible.
You're having a bad
Every
run at it,
I was
yeah.
having a bad run.
Yeah.
And so, wasn't flying very much for a few months. And then, I took it with Bill and passed. And so it was fine, but you know, making refresher flights and doing all that was tough for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I want to like, if you don't mind, ask a few more questions about that because
Hmm.
if we zoom out a little bit from thrust, people can experience this a lot, like we were talking about earlier with DPE availability and things like that, to where maybe they go a little bit longer without flying than they planned, or maybe the check ride was further out than they would like,
Hmm.
and there's like things about staying proficient. There's refresher flights, and then there's uh, just the mentality that goes into like, can I do this? Can I keep going? Because momentum plays a role in your mentality. My question is did you kind of were you feeling like kind of discouraged maybe a little bit?
Definitely,
Yeah.
because like I said, like the thing I failed on was not looking outside, and that's like a pretty fundamental thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to rethink, like, man,
And the stakes were big
I
because
need
you wanted
to,
to be in the CFI academy with
yeah,
your, yeah.
yeah, and failures aren't great to have. So I was just worried about failing a second time, but um, looking outside is such a fundamental thing that you have to do. I mean, for traffic avoidance, for all this stuff, and
Yeah.
I just hadn't emphasized it enough in my training
Hmm.
of me actually looking outside. Like it's supposed to be 90-10, where you're
Oh.
90% outside
Hmm.
and 10% inside. And so, I passed my commercial check ride. It was fine. And then in CFI training, you switch to the right seat.
Yeah.
So there's two displays. There's the MFD or the PFD and the MFD. So the
Hmm.
PFD is on the left side, furthest left side,
Okay.
and it's right in front of the pilot on the left seat.
Hmm.
And then the MFD is kind of in between you, maybe a little bit more towards the right.
Uh-huh.
But the PFD is where you get all your attitude, your airspeed, all that. The MFD
Uh-huh.
is just like a moving map
Okay.
and other stuff. But
Does that change
so
your flows a little bit?
it was weird to get used to. But
Yeah.
the thing I was saying about looking outside, so you switch to the right seat. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, I can't just look down at this display
Yeah.
and keep my eyes in the whole time because I'd have to look over, and it's just not as. It's almost like it's just not as comfortable
Yeah.
to look inside all the time because it's kind of farther away from you.
Okay.
And so in CFI training, I focused a lot more on looking outside,
Hmm.
and everything about my flying improved. I mean,
Yeah.
my maneuvers before were pretty robotic, where it's like, okay, at this angle, hit this amount of pitch. But then if you
Mm.
actually go and just look outside, you can and feel the plane. You're like for lazy eights was a big one where it was like
Yeah.
I was doing everything perfectly to ACS standards and I could pass a lazy eight, but
Mm.
I wasn't doing it how the maneuver was supposed to be done.
Hmm.
And so then I started looking outside and I'm like, wow, it's really not that hard if you're just doing it naturally like you're supposed to.
Right.
But yeah.
You got to. It sounds like you got to free up a lot in commercial, from like you said, the robotic flying into getting to feel the
Yeah,
plane a little bit
especially in
more.
CFI, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that feels like a when was the first time you felt? I think I had another question for you there, but I
Mm.
probably already forgot it. You answered it. Let me go back real quick. Well, I'll just ask this. Is there a moment where you kind of felt like, oh, I can do this? Like I'm good. Like is there a moment where you're like, I'm nervous, I don't know when I'm gonna feel confident, but then it clicked?
Okay, so the moment I felt nervous,
Uh,
well, was honestly, it was probably like right after commercial training because I'd failed that one check ride and I
mm-hmm,
was just feeling a little bit discouraged. And then going to CFI training, and then you switch to the right seat, and you feel like or at least for the first three lessons, then it clicks. But the first three lessons, at least for me, I felt like a student pilot where like I couldn't do anything. I mean, my
yeah.
landings were terrible, side loaded every time. It
Mm-hmm.
was it was terrible. But then after three flights, I just had one flight, my fourth flight, and it just clicked, and I got the sight picture from the right seat down,
Mm-hmm.
and towards the end of CFI training, I was like, man, like I could instruct somebody.
Yeah.
I could probably do this.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, there's always more to do, but I think that moment of feeling like, okay, I can do this. I'm a pilot now.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
because after private, like you get your private pilot cert, but I'm like, man, there's so much I haven't experienced. Like I'm not a pilot yet,
Oh,
which you are.
I hear you,
Not
but
to discredit any private pilots, but my like 50-hour private pilot self was not a pilot. But
I
yeah,
understand. I understand that feeling, and that's why I asked that question. I did want to go back to one thing. You mentioned doing the refresher flights. Um, do you have to pay extra for that kind of stuff here?
yeah.
What does it look like to do refresher flights?
So you get the loan,
Uh-huh.
and you get a $10,000 overage is what you should do. I don't
Uh-huh.
know if they required it or not. Excuse me. But I got a $10,000 overage like most people do.
Hmm.
And so basically it's if you have refresher flights or if you fail a check ride like I did in commercial,
Yeah.
then those are charged to your 10,000 overage, cuz it's not included in the course cost.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like if you haven't been flying for a while or something,
Hmm.
like I don't know, my one of my roommates, he would always take a lot of refresher flights, and
Yeah.
it was good. Like it benefited him for sure. But I'm like, man, I just don't want to charge up that $10,000 overage. So,
Yeah.
I wish I would have taken more in commercial because
Because you already got the loan out too,
I
so.
know, yeah,
But
but it was just like I hadn't flown in a while.
I see what you're
But
saying.
yeah,
And that's why I asked because I know that gen- like when you're kind of looking at it, especially in comparison to maybe other programs, it's pretty all inclusive. I think that there's
hmm
like they give you a certain number of extra hours per rating too that you
yeah.
can dip into,
So
but I don't understand fully. So,
yeah, so I didn't understand this till like recently. So
mm-mm,
and I kind of regret it now, but like I did private
mm-hmm,
at it wasn't at minimums, but it was like lower than my allotted amount. So I think
uh-huh,
we get 60 hours and I did it and I think it was 50.
yeah,
And so then there was like 10 hours, and Thrust probably doesn't even like me saying this, but it was 10 hours like that I just kind of gave up
yeah,
cuz I did it a little bit in less hours,
right. It's
And
like you
so
paid technically for 10 hours
yeah,
that was
but I
allotted
don't
for.
think that is the case with any other ratings. I think you get a certain amount of hours, and if you go over those hours, then it comes out of your 10,000 overage, or sometimes it'll get taken out of your multi.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
like you get multi, and then you get time building,
mm-hmm.
and so it can get taken out of your like time building if you don't do the 10,000. I think is how it
Right,
works.
and I don't remember. I guess I need to look into this, and we might have a video of this on our YouTube as well, and I'll be making a new one soon. But um, from what I understand, we don't set our goals at minimums for minimum requirements anyway. So meaning for like instrument and commercial,
hmm
I'm if I remember correctly, we don't set the goal for which you are supposed to finish the rating at the minimum. Meaning, we should have. I'm pretty sure we allot an extra amount of hours for everything, and if we don't, I think that $10,000 overage might be. I think that is required. I think that
Okay,
is
yeah.
part of it because I was talking to one of our admission specialists recently because I needed to answer a question like this,
hmm
and they're saying that you shouldn't have to worry about that. That's built into the price, and you just get that back towards a loan or and back in your pocket afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'll double check on that.
Yeah,
And if
I think
yeah,
it goes to like I did mine through Sally Mae.
hmm
So what I've heard from other people is like you don't take the 10,000 like in cash. I don't think. I
right,
think it just goes to pay off your loan, which is I mean it's what I do
good,
anyways, so it's
yeah.
fine. But
I mean, hopefully it'll just go towards it monthly, so you can skip a couple payments.
yeah,
Um, Well, I want to ask you about the fact that you've finished your multi now. Are you going to be looking for a position somewhere or as a CFI? What's your goal next?
Yeah, so hoping to get hired at Thrust. I think it's a great school to instruct at. You
Hmm.
get plenty of hours,
Hmm.
great community.
Yeah.
I have a job set up in back home in Oklahoma City, so I'm gonna leave here in the next few days to
Oh,
move back home.
okay.
Just back home with my family, so
Yeah.
rent's free. That's pretty nice,
Heck yeah.
and I'll just be working there. Hopefully, till Thrust hires me. I think I'm just gonna keep reapplying until they hire me is kind of the goal. But
Yeah.
I've got a CFI job there, so
Okay.
that'll
So
that'll
you
be
did get
nice.
a CFI
I
job
did,
somewhere.
I did.
Okay,
Yep.
that's cool. But you obviously, like you're saying, you want to do thrust even then.
Yeah, yeah. Thrust
Okay.
is the place to be. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
good to hear. Okay, so like, what you plan on maybe doing CFI for a while? Do you have maybe an airline you want to fly with, or maybe a jet? Like, are you planning on going, you know, into private or corporate or anything like that?
So, I'm kind of unlike most people where everybody's like, "Yeah, I want to go to the airlines. I want to do corporate. I want to do whatever it is."
Mm-hmm.
I will literally do anything. I mean, uh, since I'm young and I didn't go to college and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Before I go to the airlines, I want to do something cool. Like
Yeah.
corporate's cool. Like you're
Yeah.
flying private jets, like, and
Yeah.
there's some really cool corporate gigs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, flying some like a musician around, and that I always hear stories. They'll like give you tickets to their concert. You go and hang out with them, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I hear cool stories like that, and then I mean, I'm up for anything. Seaplane stuff. I'd like to
Yeah.
get my seaplane rating at some point,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, really anything. I
Yeah.
was looking the other day. There's a few companies in Botswana. That's Africa, just north of South Africa,
Yeah.
and they fly a Cessna 208 Caravans. So, it's turbine PIC time,
Okay, that's
and
cool.
they'll hire American pilots at 500 hours. So
Oh, that's cool, man.
yeah, I mean,
You,
I'd do
you do
that.
something
I
like
wouldn't do it
that?
for a long time, but like I'd do that.
What
I
an
want to be,
experience, though.
yeah, I want to be like the unk that has all the good stories. I
Yeah.
want some cool stories.
Man, if you get that, you need to shoot me a message if you end up doing something like, excuse me, if you end up doing something like that, because I would love to hear about it, and I think
Okay.
that mentality is great because, you could be, I mean, you could do anything at any age, but you are. I'll tell you this: you are right by thinking that, like, as a young person, it's a great time to take advantage
Yep.
of not having certain kinds of commitments. I mean, I don't have kids. I'm
I
not
know.
married,
Yeah, I'm a
but like
single
I'm
guy. I'll
thinking
go
about that
anywhere.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I do have one last question then, and it's mainly self-serving. You mentioned earlier that there was like a big factor in you joining Thrust. You said you looked at our podcast. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Before we started?
Yep. Before
Yeah.
I started, I think your first episode released shortly before I started,
Mm-hmm.
and so I mean, I had listened to every episode,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. It's cool to have kind of because you look at other flight schools, and it's like I don't know, they might show a picture of them flying or something like that, but you have no idea what it's actually like and you don't know any of the students, you don't know anybody.
Hmm.
And so it was cool to come here and like I came here and the first ZTA day. So you start on ZTA day
Mm-hmm.
and you have your little like in-dock class or whatever they called that.
Right.
And then you come to the luncheon where everybody at Thrust is at.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember looking around the room like, "Oh, you were on the podcast."
Oh yeah, that was
And
me.
so that was
Oh, you
pretty
mean you
cool.
saw other people who were?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Like yeah, it was just kind of cool,
Yeah.
and to kind of get the feel of like the type of instructors here
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's cool. You do get. I guess it gives you a more unique inside look than I would have thought. I wasn't thinking about that.
mhm.
The idea of the podcast is to, have candid conversations about aviation that you wouldn't normally have exposure to, especially without being in flight school. And even if you are in flight school, that's not granted that you're gonna have the community that you'd like to have. So this is kind of hoping to open our community up a little bit more to people outside. So
Right.
that's the idea. And that being said, if you guys are interested in flying, like Jaxton has mentioned, like many others have mentioned, a discovery flight is a great first step. Thrust flight, of course, does discovery flights, but if you're not near a thrust flight and you don't want to travel for this, just Google flight school near me. I'm sure you can find something to where someone will let you get in a plane and see what it feels like. that might be the thing that kind of pushes you over the edge, especially if you're sitting on the fence. I just say that because I want anyone who's thinking about doing something that they dream of doing to take a step towards that and see what they, take one step towards it and see what happens. Otherwise, if you guys are interested in thrust flight, thrustflight.com, or give us a call. Our number's right there on Google, and we'd be happy to talk to you. We have people plenty willing to answer your questions. And if this is your first time joining in and you're still watching, I'm assuming you're enjoying this episode. So please hit that subscribe button. It helps more viewers find us, especially if they're interested in aviation. Same thing on these streaming platforms. Those ratings go a long way. But until next time, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. Thank you for listening in.